But there's a huge financial requirement on us right now. Those increases in and of themselves will not meet some of that need, but those things have to be weighed up altogether.
Time to move on to questions to the Minister for Economy, and I call Harry Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That'll be question 1, please.
Sure.
Regional balance is a key priority of my tourism vision and action plan, and rural tourism presents a valuable opportunity to support regional balance and promote the sustainable development of our rural communities. We know that visitors, particularly those from international markets, come to experience our amazing landscapes and scenery, whether it's our coasts, lakes, countrysides and parklands. Our rural areas have this in abundance. Tourism NI will continue to work directly with tourism businesses in rural areas, as well as in collaboration with local councils. This focus on business development supports and promotes their authentic and unique appeal across all regions to develop their profitability, innovation, visitor appeal and long-term sustainability. This work will be further enhanced by an upcoming destination stewardship approach that will have a focus on achieving regional balance both in rural and urban areas through carefully designed sustainability and regenerative plans.
Mr. Harvey.
Thank the Minister for our answer so far. Minister, our local councils play a vital role in the promotion of many of our rural tourist sites. However, success varies from one local authority to the next. What can the Department do to ensure best practice models and ideas are shared across Northern Ireland? Thank you.
I thank the member for his question, and I think that some of our council areas in particular have a very strong focus on tourism, my own for example, and I know the members as well, and will have very strong tourism development departments within their local councils. So I think working alongside Tourism NI there is that opportunity to share best practice, and certainly through the Tourism Vision and Action Plan that's something that I encourage and will continue to encourage Tourism NI to play that important role. I think our local economic partnerships that we have recently established, there's an opportunity there for each council to design its own economic plans, and where it's relevant and where members feel it's appropriate to do so, ensuring that tourism is appropriately represented within those. And again, that's something that I would actively encourage councils to do.
Call Andrew McMurray.
Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Minister. Minister, what representation are you making with your counterparts in the Republic of Ireland to ensure that all island branding, such as Ireland's ancient East, is extended into Northern Ireland, as to do so would benefit for the many within the tourism industry, not least in South Down?
The member for his question, and I completely agree with him. Work is ongoing with Tourism NI, Tourism Ireland and Fáilte Ireland to bridge those visitor experiences across the island. For example, the Causeway Coastal Route and the Wild Atlantic Way has a shared island project, some 7.6 million in respect of trying to do that. A review of the current Causeway Coastal Route visitor offering has been completed following consultation with public and industry stakeholders, gathering insights to shape an infrastructure strategy, and that has the potential to develop things like discovery points along that route, similar to what there is along the Wild Atlantic Way. That project also includes delivery of a small capital investment scheme to improve interpretation provision and the visitor experience. Recognising the brands that are owned by Fáilte Ireland, Tourism NI is in final discussions with Fáilte Ireland in relation to licensing the use of Ireland's hidden heartlands to the Fermanagh region, and I hope to be in a position to welcome progress on that in the very near future. Regarding Ireland's ancient East, and I think I have updated members in the Chamber on this before, Fáilte Ireland is currently evaluating that brand's effectiveness and considering the next steps, and I would be keen for the North to be represented in any discussions in relation to that, and we'll be continuing to make that case to Fáilte and Tourism Ireland.
Cara Hunter.
Minister, we share the beautiful constituency of East Derry. It has outstanding areas of natural beauty, a stunning coast. What developments do you have to expand on rural tourism in our constituency?
And I completely agree with the member. We are blessed with significant important tourism landscape and a number of hugely important visitor attractions. And I think that our council does do a very good job in terms of promoting our tourism offering, and as recently as today we've seen the success of the Open, which was hosted in Causeway Coast and Glen. So I think we as a council area show the ability to host those major type of sporting events and other major events, and I think that's something that we can continue to build upon. And similarly, as I said to Mr Harvey, I think there's a real opportunity for our LEP to look towards tourism as part of its plans, and of course working alongside Tourism Ireland and Tourism NI and all of our councils, I will be continuing to promote the best that we have to offer.
Philip Brett.
Mr Speaker, with your permission, I will answer question 2 and 5 together. My written statement of the 16th of October concerns matters within the statutory responsibility of my department. The measures outlined in my statement are driven by the clear moral case for action. Insofar as my statement outlined that the North would not participate in British government trade talks with Israel, which are currently paused, I do not consider that to be controversial. In its report published on the 16th of September, the UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, found that Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. Genocide is not only abhorrent, it is illegal under international law. In addition, the International Court of Justice advisory opinion of last July concluded that Israel's continued occupation of Palestinian territory is unlawful and that states have an obligation not to recognise or assist in maintaining that situation. This position is further reinforced by the UN General Assembly resolution of the 18th of September 2024, which called on all states to cease trade or investment relations that assist in maintaining Israel's unlawful occupation. This resolution reflects a broad international consensus that states should not facilitate violations of international law. In relation to the other measures designed to provide reassurance and eliminate any risk of public funds being used to support the manufacture of arms or components used for genocide, I have outlined my intention and will provide further information when those steps have been progressed. My decision does not represent a unique policy toward Israel. It is based on the principle that public funds must not support the manufacture of arms or components used for genocide. This approach will be country-neutral, principles-based and grounded in the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights. The measures announced will apply consistently to any country found to be committing genocide. They are designed to align our economic development policies with human rights obligations and ethical investment principles. I do not consider it a controversial position to adopt to ensure public funding is not associated with the genocide.
Mr. Brett.
Mr. Speaker, Minister, given you described genocide as abhorrent, last week as Economy Minister you met representatives of the Chinese Communist Party. Could you outline to this House today what discussions in relation to genocide you had with them, or is it in fact your hypocrisy approach when it just comes to the issue of Israel?
Minister.
I note the member attempts to deflect from his party's position in relation to the genocide being committed by Israel in Gaza. I have raised, I think there are challenges in relation to China's human rights issues, and I have raised those and will continue to highlight those concerns. But I would also emphasise that one of the measures being taken as part of my announcement is the development of an ethical investment framework, and that will apply consistently across the board.
Sorry, Timothy Gaston first.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Minister, given Sinn Féin's well-documented historic links to paramilitary and international terrorist organisations, can you share with the House what specific evidence you relied upon in deciding that your department, of all departments, is in any position to lecture anyone on ethnical international engagement?
As I outlined very clearly in my opening answer, I did not decide that. It was set out by the UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry that found Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza, and the International Court of Justice which has found the Palestinian occupation to be unlawful. What I have announced upholds international law. It is a basic moral position that has been adopted to not associate ourselves with the public funding going to the manufacture of arms or components that would be used for genocide. As I have said very clearly on a number of occasions, I don't consider that position to be in any way controversial whatsoever.
Philip McGuigan.
Can Collier, and I thank the Minister for her answers, and I agree that her announcement isn't controversial, and I thank her for her clarification on international law, and agree that public funds from the North should not be used in any case to support genocide in this instance in Gaza. Can I ask the Minister, because she mentioned an ethical investment framework, maybe if she could update us on the development of this framework?
So, as part of the measures I announced on the 16th of October, my officials are developing an ethical investment framework. The initial scoping for the framework will be based on the UN Guiding Principles of Business and Human Rights, which set out clearly that are based on 3 principles: protect, respect and remedy. It will also be informed by a variety of stakeholders, including arm's-length bodies of the Department, as well as the business and human rights sectors. There will be a formal consultation period and an opportunity for members of the public to input their views. It will be completed before the end of this mandate.
Jerry Call.
Minister, you'll be aware, obviously, unionist parties are trying to say your action is like for like what the Education Minister did in recent weeks, but would you agree with me that doing all we can, including ministerial directions against a state that's involved in apartheid to try to isolate it, is not the same as a minister engaging in a propaganda trip to a rogue, genocidal apartheid state?
Completely agree with what the member has set out. I think the Education Minister's trip and his cheerleading for those who are perpetrators of the slaughter of tens of thousands of innocent civilians, who have created more child amputees per capita in Gaza than in any other place in the world, who are responsible for the acronym Wounded Child, No Surviving Family, who have destructed civilian infrastructure and who are enforcing starvation on a population. That's what's controversial, and the measures that I have announced to have absolutely nothing to do with the perpetrators of such abhorrent actions are in no way controversial, in my opinion.
Draken.
Minister, why are you breaching your obligations under Annex 2 of the Ireland-Northern Ireland Protocol, which indeed our party chairman Declan Kearney was just earlier this afternoon praising, on the Euro-Mediterranean Agreement on Trade between the EU, the single market and Israel, which you are?
I don't agree with the member that that is the case. In fact, I don't believe that my announcements in any way breach the Windsor Framework Agreement.
Emma Sheeran.
Gora Magath, Concordia Cash for 3, let a whole question 3, please.
The independent review of InvestNI, commissioned to assess the organisation's efficiency and effectiveness, identified significant challenges and called for profound transformation. In response, my department, working closely with InvestNI and key stakeholders, published a comprehensive action plan comprising 35 strategic actions to drive meaningful change and align the agency with my economic vision. To date, 28 of these actions have been fully implemented, delivering improvements in leadership, organisational structure and operational delivery. The remaining 7 actions are on track for completion by December 2026. Through this collaborative effort, I am committed to ensuring InvestNI is better equipped to support businesses, foster regional balance and drive sustainable economic growth across the North.
Ms. Sheeran.
Gora Magath, Gora Magath, Lish and Arif and Fregrishan. Minister, could you provide an update on the new leadership team?
The independent review of InvestNI made clear there was a need for a refreshed and dynamic leadership team to drive that organisation forward. So I'm pleased to report that decisive steps have been taken to implement that recommendation, with the appointments of Anne Biggs as the Chief Commercial Officer, Catherine Hill as the Chief Operating Officer and Alison Curry as the Chief Development Officer. These appointments reflect a commitment to strong, inclusive leadership and bring a wealth of experience and expertise to InvestNI at a pivotal time for our economy. I commend Kieran Donoghue for his decisive leadership in ensuring the organisation is well positioned to meet the challenges and opportunities ahead, and I look forward to working closely with the new leadership team as we continue our shared mission to foster innovation, attract investment and deliver prosperity for communities right across the North.
Jonathan Buckley.
Invest in I are crucial in ensuring that our businesses reach the full potential right across the world. And with that in mind, the Minister will be aware that Invest in I recently talked about the importance of the defence sector to the Northern Ireland economy, representing some 10,000 jobs and £2 billion in output. Can I ask, does the Minister agree with that statement?
Minister.
The member will be well aware of my position in relation to the funding of militarisation of the funding of the British Government's militarisation agenda in favour of public services and infrastructure and things that would be beneficial to the population. In relation to the specific sectors of our economy, the member will also be well aware that advanced manufacturing and engineering is one of the priority sectors and attracts support from the Department and Invest NI accordingly. There are other initiatives that are funded and supported by the British Government that businesses here have the opportunity to avail of directly themselves by engaging with the British Government.
Mr McDulty.
Thank the Minister for her answers thus far. Minister, historically Invest NI have had a ridiculously low number of FDI visits to my constituency of Newry and Armagh. Can the Minister say with any degree of confidence that Invest NI support reflects regional balance across all of the North, including Newry and Armagh?
I thank the member for his question, and he will be aware, I'm sure, of the sub-regional economic plan that was published last year, which put a new focus on regional development, including by Invest NI, and included a target for investment outside of the Belfast metropolitan area of 65% over the 3-year business period. That in the first year had increased to 59%. So I think actually we can point to some success in the short space of time that has been in place and that the sub-regional economic plan has been in place. But certainly I think regional balance is increasingly important, and something that I put a particular focus on. Is one of my 4 priorities as under the economic vision. And certainly I will be encouraging Invest NI to look at regions right across the North. Indeed, just last week I was in Boston supporting a delegation from the North West to attract investment and trade opportunities. So I would look for further opportunities to do so for regions right across the North.
Paul Fruit. Minister.
The utility regulator announced on the 30th of October 2025 that it has launched a formal investigation into this matter. The investigation is being carried out in accordance with the UR's enforcement procedure. The details in relation to the investigation are confidential while it's ongoing in order to allow for due process.
Thank the Minister for her answer. Given the Minister's worrying differences with Invest NI, and given the fact now that utility regulator has had to step in on EP Ballylumford Limited, can we be assured, or can the Minister assure this House that she is fully across her brief and is ensuring that Energy Branch within her department are there to protect the consumers of Northern Ireland?
I think the member is well aware that I am across my brief. I don't have differences with Invest NI, so I'm not sure what you're talking about in that regard. And in respect of what the utility regulator is doing for Kilroot, it's part of what its job is to actually do. So I can assure you that Energy Branch in my department are fully engaged in ensuring that our consumers are protected and that all of the appropriate functions are being carried out.
Speaker, Minister, on the subject of electricity generation, critical to meeting our targets and reducing consumer bills is clearly the North-South Interconnector. When I asked your colleague, the First Minister, earlier on about the North-South Interconnector, she didn't answer the question. So can I again ask you, given that it's going to be delayed by several years, do you accept that it is critical that it is delivered? Do you accept that the North-South Interconnector cannot be undergrounded within any meaningful cost? Do you want it to be delivered? And do you accept that it has to be delivered over ground? Please be clear.
I'm not sure why the member thinks that I haven't previously been clear on this issue. The North-South Interconnector is critical infrastructure. It is really unfortunate that it's going to be delayed because some of the issues that we have been dealing with recently in relation to security supply would not be happening if we had the North-South Interconnector. And in relation to it being overground or underground, the member is well aware of my long-stated party policy in respect of that, but also that we have a planning application that has been approved, and that we as government departments have to ensure that that is progressed and implemented as it is set out.
Aoife Finnegan.
And I want to thank the Minister for her answers so far. What measures are in place to safeguard security of supply for winter 2025?
As a mitigation to meet security of supply demand up until the run hours reset on the 1st of January 2026, my department officials have been engaging with the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs and provided evidence that under the circumstances it is necessary to increase the running hours at Kilroot. This has happened because of unexpected and issues with Kilkira, which had been taken out for repair and has not yet come back on, and therefore to ensure security of supply we have increased the run hours that are permitted at Kilroot. Those will reset on the 1st of January, and that is something that has obtained the agreement of the Executive.
Question 5 is withdrawn. Mr McGlone is not on his place. I call Nick Matheson.
Question number 8, please.
Sure.
The Minister for Education and I met in May to discuss his proposals for 16 to 18 legislation, and we will meet again at the end of this month to continue that discussion alongside other cross-cutting issues relating to 14 to 19 education. My officials have maintained ongoing engagement with the Department of Education on these matters through the established 14 to 19 structures. I would note that it is vital that this work is underpinned by strong interdepartmental collaboration, clear operational planning and meaningful engagement with young people themselves. Legislation alone will not be enough. It must be matched by adequate funding and a whole systems approach to ensure equity and meaningful change for every young person.
Mr Matheson.
Thank the Minister for that answer. As the Minister with responsibility for further education, how will you ensure that when this legislation is delivered, that our young people, regardless of what school or school sector they are in, are given the full suite of options and pathways available to them to ensure that access to further education pathways, apprenticeships, are promoted to all our young people, so that we don't end up, by virtue of this legislation, locking them into pathways that are not right for them?
I thank the member for his question, and certainly I support the broad intention of the legislation to ensure that all our young people have opportunities. I think that currently there is a lack of sufficient detail to properly comment on the specifics, and as I mentioned, it is a case that we need to see all pathways appropriately funded to ensure that they deliver. I think it's important that we don't see duplication and that we're working together to avoid that and to make the best use of our combined resources. I believe that we have world-class further education facilities. I've had the opportunity over the past year to open 2 of our new campuses, and they're fantastic, and I think there's a real opportunity there to be world-leading in terms of the type of initiatives and programmes we're putting in place for our young people, particularly across the remit of apprenticeships. So certainly from my perspective, I will be engaging very closely with the Education Minister to ensure that our priorities align, and I think they do in general terms, in terms of what we're trying to achieve for young people, but to make sure that we are working together and that we do have a whole suite of options that young people can pursue regardless of where they come from or what their aspirations might be.
And I thank the Minister for her answers so far, and indeed for her commitment to this topic and this broad area of work. Minister, can you outline, you've mentioned already about duplication, can you talk some more to exactly what you will do to ensure that there isn't duplication, and how you'll continue to support our further education colleges, who we know do brilliant work in my area and right across the board?
I thank the member for his question, and I think we're all aware of the financial pressures that the Department of Education is under, and that increase in student numbers into its remit may further stretch that available funding. My own department is also under funding pressure, and I have tried very hard to prioritise skills within the funding envelope that I have, but certainly with more funding we could do an awful lot more. So that's why it's more important than ever that we do work together to avoid duplication and make the best use of the combined resources that we have. And as I said, I'm absolutely committed to collaborating closely with the Education Minister to ensure that our facilities are properly utilised. I think that if we align our planning and our delivery, we have appropriate sharing of data and a coordination of different programmes, we can provide learners with the best possible opportunities while also ensuring value for money. So our focus needs to be on delivering a joined-up offer that meets the needs of all young people and avoids unnecessary overlap to maximise the impact of every pound we spend.
Question 9, please. Minister.
Apologies. A review of grid connection charges here remains a priority for me. I intend to publish a decision paper later this year with implementation planned for 2026. My department has consulted on options for transitioning a more socialised grid connection charging policy. Greater socialisation of grid connection costs will make it easier for individuals, businesses and communities to connect to the electricity network. This is particularly important in our rural communities. All of those of us who represent rural constituencies will have no doubt had constituents raise this issue with us on many occasions. It's also important for the rollout of low carbon technologies and electric vehicles, and in terms of meeting our objectives in relation to the transition to net zero.
Mr. Buchanan.
Minister, so far, Minister, you've indicated I think, the back end of this year you make some form of decision. When will that roll out in a timeline for people on the ground actually seeing a cost reduction? Obviously, there's a bit of a process that. When will that actually hit the ground and people see savings?
So, as I indicated, it's my intention to publish that decision before the end of the year, and then the implementation of that will progress over the course of 2026. As I said in my opening answer, I know this is something that rural constituents in particular have lobbied for a long time, and sure, obviously I have to consider the options that are in front of me in the consultation responses, but it's something that I'm keen to progress as soon as possible.
Mark Durkin.
Speaker, Minister, the Audit Office recently found that your department had achieved just 1% progress on the energy strategy despite spending over £100 million. Given that record, how can the public have confidence in your department's ability to deliver lower costs and renewable energy at pace?
I thank the member for his question. It gives me the opportunity to address the issue. There were 3 targets that were reported on by the Audit Office, and on 2 of the targets progress was being made. The issue with the 3rd target, energy efficiency, is an issue of data, and it's something that we do need to resolve as a department. In terms of the funding that has been utilised to date, over 70 million of that funding has went to invest to save projects across the public service, and those are saving in the region of 8 or 9 million annually. So saving the public purse money for that investment that has been made. So I think that's something to be welcomed. It shows public sector leadership, and something obviously we will take on board the recommendations of the Audit Office report. And one of those was a mid-strategy review, which we intend to publish before the end of the year.
Anna Armstrong.
Thank you, Minister, for your responses. Minister, can you give us an update, please, on the smart meter programme?
Yes, I think I'm not sure I have the full details of it in front of me, but the consultation has completed, and we will be publishing the way forward in the very near future. And if the member wants to write to me, I will furnish her with further details in respect of that. But that's the broad gist of it.
Shane.
The J, question 10, please.
Mr.
The setting of air passenger duty is a reserved matter which is legislated for and collected by the Treasury. I consider APD to be an unfair tax which continues to have a significant detrimental impact on domestic aviation, as acknowledged by Sir Peter Hendy in the Union Connectivity Review. This needs to be addressed by the British Government. As an island, we rely heavily on air travel. The current rate of air passenger duty set by the British Government is the highest in Europe and disproportionately impacts us, adding an extra cost burden that undermines our competitiveness and accessibility. This impact is heightened when we look at the South, where APD was abolished in 2014. The Executive has since 2012 been given the delegated authority to set APD rates for long-haul flights. This has been set at zero as part of our efforts to encourage more flights. Any change, however, to the rate of short-haul APD for here must be weighed against the financial consequences, and I believe that the British Government should bear the responsibility for those financial consequences in recognition of our status as an island and requiring air travel. While there have been no recent studies on APD's economic impact on the local economy, I've asked my officials to examine a number of policy options, including potential APD reform. Officials have recently met key aviation stakeholders and are preparing a consultation document which is to be issued in coming months.
The topicals, call Stacey O'Loughlin.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, you've promised a good jobs bill by the end of this mandate, yet time is running out. And despite saying that it will be introduced in January, we haven't even seen a draft. This afternoon, your party is bringing forward a cost of living motion to the Assembly. But isn't it hard to take that seriously when Sinn Féin hasn't delivered the workers' rights bill that you promised? How confident are you that that can actually be delivered in time? And Minister, workers deserve delivery, not motions. Can you guarantee that that bill will be passed in full before the end of this mandate, and that you just won't build up hope and then break that promise to workers?
Well, the Good Jobs agenda is about putting more money in workers' pockets. It's about prosperity. It's about ensuring people have access to a good job and good work-life balance and good work conditions. I'm a little bit bemused by the question, because when I announced the way forward in April, I indicated that it would be January before the legislation would be introduced. So I don't see that there is any delay at this point that we are discussing.
Ms McLaughlin.
Minister, we haven't got any clarity on the contents of that bill. So there is great concern, even within the Economic Committee. What does it look like? And speaking through all of the elements in it, it's quite a complex bill. And are you guaranteeing now that it will be brought in January and delivered before the end of this mandate?
When I set out the way forward on the Good Jobs Bill in April, set out what will be contained within the bill. Drafters are progressing the legislation. I don't see why you would anticipate seeing the content of the bill before it's actually introduced into the Assembly. So, as I said, I view it as being on track.
Paula Bradshaw.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Minister, the High Street Task Force report highlighted the need for coordinated place-based support to sustain local retail and hospitality businesses. Can you please outline how your department is using these recommendations to support independent traders in the run-up to Christmas?
I thank the member for her question. And the High Street Task Force had a number of recommendations. My department has taken forward those within my responsibility. As we're saying, in terms of place-based regeneration, recently, along with the Communities Minister, announced funding for community wealth building pilot projects in both the North West and in Larne, and I think those are good initiatives in terms of giving power to local communities to design the type of support that they want to see in their local areas and initiatives that will support their local areas. I am more than happy to work across the Executive with other departmental colleagues to ensure that our high streets are vibrant places. Most of the responsibilities sit more directly with the Communities Minister and to some extent with the Finance Minister, but as I said, I am very open to any initiatives that can support our high streets. One of the things that recently, along with a number of executive colleagues, the Infrastructure Minister and myself brought forward the initiative in relation to the nighttime economy, something that is aimed expressly at getting footfall back into our city centre at night. And I think that's something, a pilot for this year, that we can build upon, hopefully in coming years.
Ms Bradshaw.
Thank you for your answer, Minister. So I was on Botanic Avenue last night, and it's wonderful that there's so many independent hospitality businesses there. But I know from speaking to many of their owners that they find it difficult to expand because they are outbid by these multinational, multi-chain restaurants. And in the Republic of Ireland, they have put in place a moratorium in terms of the numbers, or a cap on the numbers. Is that something that your department would consider to allow independent hospitality businesses to flourish?
I thank the member for her question, and it's not an initiative that I am aware of, but something I'm happy to look into, and for my officials to evaluate what the objectives are and what the outworkings of that is, because I too would be lobbied by hospitality businesses that find it challenging in the current circumstances, and we all know that last year's budget from the Chancellor had a number of measures that were damaging to small businesses in particular, and hopefully in the coming budget we will see a reversal on some of those measures. We also know that the level of VAT, comparatively speaking with the South, is something that impacts on hospitality businesses here in the North, and I, along with the Finance Minister, continue to make the case that we should be a pilot to see a reduction in hospitality VAT, and again that's something that we will continue to pursue.
Donny Donnelly.
Speaker, last Monday I attended the North West and Larne Community Wealth Building event in the Long Gallery, and I know the Minister was there also, and she's just referred to it. In the context of addressing regional balance, how important is alignment between locally designed initiatives such as community wealth building and local economic partnerships?
I thank the member for his question, and I certainly see a strong synergy between the type of initiative that is being taken forward underneath under the community wealth building pilot projects and what can be done with our local economic partnerships. I guess the intent behind the local economic partnerships was democratising power back to local areas to design what best meets their needs, and certainly I would encourage that tie-in strongly with community and voluntary and other third sector organisations to ensure that place-based approach to economic development that's actually meeting the needs of everybody across our communities. And I think that there is a real opportunity there between our local economic partnerships and those types of initiatives to make a real difference in local communities.
Mr Donnelly.
Thanks, the Minister, for that answer. Could I ask her what long-term impact she thinks these projects might have on those areas?
I thank the member for his question, and I suppose I don't have a crystal ball in terms of understanding what the impacts might be, but I certainly would expect that there will be robust evaluations of what the initiatives have achieved. I expect that they will be successful. I expect there will be positive outcomes, because when you have the buy-in from a community and you are building something from the ground up, it will meet the needs of those that you're trying to serve. So certainly that's the intent behind the community wealth building partnerships, that they are leveraging local assets for the benefit of the community, and I would fully anticipate that they will be positive, and that there will be something, although that we have the 2 pilots, that can be rolled out across the board to support other communities to do likewise.
Morris Bradley.
To ask the Minister, in light of the ongoing cost of living pressures and persistent skills gaps across key sectors, what immediate actions is the Minister taking to attract higher value jobs to disadvantaged and deprived areas, and to ensure that people from low income households can actually access employment through apprenticeships, retraining and upskilling programmes?
And I thank the member for his questions, and skills is the top priority for me as Minister. I think it underpins everything else that we're trying to achieve across the 4 priorities under the economic vision. We need to have people with the appropriate skills to fill the types of good jobs that we are trying to create in regions right across the north. And certainly when I'm engaging with businesses, it's still the top issue that they raise. So we are ensuring that there are pathways there, and that those are designed in partnership with industry, so our sectoral partnerships, that the programmes and traineeships and apprenticeships and other programmes under those are meeting the needs of the businesses that are trying to grow and expand. In terms of how we take that regional approach, as I mentioned, we do have now the sub-regional economic plan to guide us, and I think that is showing success. I think that the local economic partnerships, working alongside the labour market partnerships that are under the remit of the Department for Communities, can ensure that there is better alignment in local areas in relation to ensuring that the skills needs meet the business needs.
Mr Bradley.
I thank the Minister for her answer, but can she set out what specific targets she has put in place to ensure that people from the most deprived communities actually benefit from these higher value jobs? And will she commit to publishing area-based data relating to these programmes?
Minister.
The member for his question, and I agree. I actually think data is really important in evidence and progress, and certainly is something that we are looking at within the department to ensure that the objectives that we are setting ourselves under the departmental plan are being met, and how we are performing against those. In terms of specific targets in relation to jobs and job creation, InvestNI have targets. They have sub-regional targets across the different council areas, and that's something that they will be progressing underneath their business plan, but that we will be closely working alongside, as I said, in terms of that regional focus, and in particular through the local economic partnerships. There is an opportunity to ensure that the skills needs are being that are in each of the areas are being met, and I would very much encourage that collaborative approach. Our regional colleges are represented on all of those, so there is a real opportunity for tie-in there in a very effective way.
William Irwin.
Speaker, has the Minister any further action planned to support an increase in the availability of apprenticeship opportunities?
Minister.
I thank the member for his question, and just recently we published the Apprenticeship Action Plan, and that is about ensuring that apprenticeships are readily available, that they're accessible, that they meet the needs of business, but also that they are person-centred and meet the needs of our young people, but increasingly people of all ages. There are a number of initiatives underneath the Apprenticeship Action Plan that are about ensuring that businesses have the capability and support in terms of offering apprenticeships that I certainly think are really important, and I have had significant correspondence from MLAs and others over recent weeks about the challenges that young people face in terms of obtaining apprenticeships. Our numbers in apprenticeships have increased significantly over the past number of years, which is a sign of success. But we still have more young people who would take up the opportunity if they had an employer to do so. And so my work is very much now about encouraging more employers to offer those opportunities, but to ensure that they have the appropriate support with which to do so.
Mr Irwin.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and can I thank the Minister for her response. The Minister agreed with me that there's a scarcity among tradesmen in our workforce in Northern Ireland. Therefore, it's vital to encourage as many as possible into apprenticeships.
Minister.
Yeah, and I agree with the member, and certainly if you try to find a tradesperson, you could be well challenged in getting somebody to do a job for you because they are so busy. So you would also probably be surprised to know that our apprenticeships in construction trades are our most popular apprenticeships, and that it's something that we do need to put a focus on, because we need those trades in areas, whether it's construction, whether it's electricians, plumbing in terms of the types of initiatives coming forward in relation to meeting our net zero targets, for example. We need to have the appropriate labour to support meeting those targets, and also in relation to the house building targets that we have for ourselves. So I certainly see it as critical that we are ensuring that we have people coming through in our construction trades.
Orlia Flynn.
Can I ask the Minister for a readout of a recent trip to Boston, please?
Mr.
I thank the member for her question. I was in Boston for 2 days at the end of last week, and it was a trip that was specifically about promoting the Northwest as a leading location for investment and trade. On Thursday, I had the opportunity to meet with representatives of the American travel trade hosted by Tourism NI. I delivered a keynote address at the Golden Bridges Conference, which highlights the best of the Northwest to an influential Irish-American business audience. I also had the opportunity to meet with former US Envoy Joe Kennedy when I was there, and we discussed building on the momentum that he had created and strengthening those transatlantic economic ties with US companies. And I also had the opportunity to meet with one of our current investors who is planning further investment here. That was Thursday. On Friday, I attended a business leaders event organised by Invest NI, which had again a particular focus on the Northwest, and I then had the opportunity to attend the signing of an MOU between Ulster University and the University of Massachusetts. I think there's a huge amount of positive economic news coming out of the Northwest with recent investments and announcements, and I was delighted to take that message to the business community in the States.
Okay, that brings to a conclusion questions to the Minister for Economy. Point of order, Mr. McLone.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Just my apologies, I wasn't in my place for the question in the previous section. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLone. If members just take their ease for a moment before we move back to the next debate.